Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. Today is Monday, December 15th, 2025. So today, NFL, college football, NBA, NHL, college basketball, soccer on this day, news and notes, and best bet. We'll begin with the NFL. It was a very interesting Sunday. We have a game tonight, which is fascinating because we have Aaron Rodgers and the Packers trying to remain a game ahead, and then the Dolphins trying to get to 500. So, yesterday, Bills over the Patriots, 35-31. Ravens over the Bengals, 21-0. Commanders over the Giants, 29-21. Jaguars over the Jets, 48-20. Chargers over the Chiefs, 16-13. Texans over the Cardinals, 40-20. Bears over the Browns, 31-3. Eagles over the Raiders, 31-0. Seahawks over the Colts, 18-16. Broncos over the Packers, 34-26. 49ers over the Titans, 37-24. Saints over the Panthers, 20-17. Rams over the Lions, 41-34. And the Vikings over the Cowboys, 34-26 on Sunday Night Football. Like I said tonight, big game to some degree. Dolphins are still mathematically alive in the postseason race. I believe they are eliminated from playoff contention if they lose tonight. My line is Steelers 4.5, total 46. And it is Steelers 3, total 42.5. I like the over. I don't think either team's defense is good, especially Pittsburgh's without TJ Watt tonight. So I do like over 42.5, and I would be willing to parlay that and adjust the Dolphins up to like 7.5 or 6.5. Or something like that. Okay, now move on to college football. I have to apologize to you guys. I didn't realize that the bowl season already started because we missed a bowl game that had to be talked about. So the Celebration Bowl, SC State over Prairie View, 40-30 in 4 overtimes. And then the LA Bowl, Washington over Boise State, 38-10. So I had a line down for this. I had Boise 1.5, total 52.5. And I'm trying to find like the betting line and stuff, but I can't find it. I'm just going to look up the 2025 LA Bowl. Washington was a 10-point favorite. But then again, Boise had injured guys, so I probably forgot to make adjustments. So it would have been Washington by something probably, but they were favored by 10 in that game. And then the FCS quarterfinals. Friday, Montana State over Stephen F. Austin, 44-28. Saturday, Villanova over Tarleton State, 26-21. Montana over South Dakota, 52-22. And Illinois State over UC Davis, 42-31. And then we have the semifinals on Saturday, so we'll preview and pick those on the Friday podcast. And then obviously we can't forget about Army-Navy, as Navy defeats Army 17-16. I'm very glad that I did not bet the over in Army-Navy, because that never freaking works out. It's like an auto under every year in that game. All right, so now we'll move on to the NBA. We'll go over the weekend results and look ahead to tonight, which is only 5 games. Friday, Bulls over the Hornets, 129-126. Pistons over the Hawks, 142-115. Sixers over the Pacers, 115-105. Cavs over the Wizards, 130-126. Jazz over the Grizzlies, 130-126. Mavs over the Nets, 119-111. T-Wolves over the Warriors, 127-120. All right, NBA Cup semifinals. Knicks over the Magic, 132-120. And the Spurs upset the Thunder, 111-109, as Victor Wembanyama came back. And the Spurs beat the Thunder for the Thunder's second loss of the year. Obviously, Tuesday night's the big night in Vegas. So we'll preview and pick the game on the podcast tomorrow. All right, tonight's games though. 7 o'clock on Peacock. Pistons Celtics. I have the Pistons by 2 3/4, so 230 and 3/20. And it is Celtics 1.5 total, 229.5. Somebody on Detroit's hurt. Because why is the Celtics a 1.5 point favorite? Somebody must have just got ruled out because that's crazy. Or is it just Boston bettors because it's the Celtics? Like how the Knicks randomly get the minus because they're the Knicks or whatever. The Lakers, so be it. But anybody hurt in that game? On Detroit? No. That is so weird. The 5-loss Pistons are an underdog. Give me them plus 1.5 and plus 106 outright. 7:30 Raptors Heat. I have the Heat 4 3/4, so 34 and 4/5. And it's 6 and 234.5. Slightly in Raptors. RJ Barrett's not worth that many points. 9 o'clock Mavs Jazz. Minus the Mavs 4.5 total 235 and 19/20. And it's 1.5 and 239.5. Under. 9:30 on Peacock. Rockets Nuggets. Good game. I landed the Nuggets 6.5 total 234 and 7/10. And it's 1.5 and 237.5. I'm laying 1.5 with the Nuggets. That's way too low. I don't know why Jokic is only a 1.5 point favorite at home. And then 10:30 Grizzlies Clippers. I have the Clippers 6 1/4 total 229 and 3/20. And it's 4.5 and 228.5. Slightly in Clippers. Okay, now move on to hockey. We'll go over the results from the weekend and look ahead to tonight. Friday, Blues over the Blackhawks 3-2, and the Mammoth over the Kraken 5-3. Saturday, Devils over the Ducks 4-1, Wild over the Senators 3-2, Sharks over the Pen 6-5 OT, Isles over the Lightning 3-2 shootout, Oilers over the Leafs 6-3, Rangers over the Habs 5-4 OT. Rangers are down 3-0 and 4-2 in that game. Canes over the Flyers 4-3 shootout, Golden Knights over the Jackets 3-2, Jets over the Caps 5-1. Red Wings over Blackhawks 4-0. Panthers over the Stars 4-0. Avs over the Preds 4-2. And the Flames over the Kings 2-1 in OT. Sunday, Canucks over the Devils 2-1. Mammoth over the Pens 5-4 OT. Canes over the Flyers 3-2 shootout. Wild over the Bruins 6-2. Habs over the Oilers 4-1. Sabres over the Kraken 3-1. All right, 5 games in hockey tonight too. That's weird. 7 o'clock. You have the Ducks against the Rangers, the return of Chris Kreider to MSG. The Rangers are slight home favorites, minus 118. The Ducks minus 102 over under 6.5. Overs plus 114. Unders minus 140. Ducks plus 1.5 is minus 260. Rangers minus 1.5 plus 2.5. I'm taking the Ducks. It's the return of Chris Kreider. You know he's going to get a nice hand. But I mean, it would be very fitting for Kreider to score not once but twice. Ducks on the money line, minus 102. I won't be surprised if the Ducks win this in OT, but I genuinely believe that they'll win this game. NHL Network, Panthers Lightning. Lightning minus 128, Panthers plus 106 over under 5.5. Overs minus 130. Unders plus 106. Panthers plus 1.5 is minus 240. Lightning minus 1.5 plus 190. Under. 7:30. Sens Jets. Jets minus 134. Sens plus 114. Over under 5.5. Overs minus 128. Unders plus 104. Sens plus 1.5 is minus 3. Jets minus 1.5 plus 184. I don't think Connor Hellebuck is back yet. So I'm going to go with Ottawa plus 112. 8 o'clock, Preds Blues. Blues minus 113, Preds minus 106, over under 5.5, overs minus 128, unders plus 104. Preds plus 1.5 is minus 265, Blues minus 1.5 is plus 210. I've taken the Blues at home minus 113. And last but not least, Kings Stars. Stars minus 30, Kings plus 108, over under 5.5, overs plus 110, unders minus 134. Kings plus 1.5 is minus 260, Stars minus 1.5 plus 105. Over plus 110 will be the pick. Now move on to college basketball. We'll go over the results from the weekend, and we'll look ahead to a small window tonight. There's not a lot of options for me for best bet. To the point where soccer might have to be in consideration for best bet, for crying out loud. Friday, Army over UMBC 63-60. Queens over SC State 102-78. Xavier over Missouri State 75-57. NCAT over Maryland Eastern 82-79. Number 5 UConn over Texas 71-63. Austin P over ETSU 76-75. McNeese over East Texas A&M 102-66. Cal Baptist over Eastern Washington 88-83. All right, Saturday, number 9 Michigan State over Penn State 76-72. Number 17 Arkansas over number 16 Texas Tech 93-86. Number 22 St. John's over Iona 91-64. Florida Atlantic over Albany 105-79. Orange Bowl Classic UMass over Florida State 103-95. DePaul over Wichita State 61-58. Stony Brook over Central Michigan 78-55. Miami over Yale Monroe 104-79. George Mason over Old Dominion 73-61. Elon over Northern Illinois 85-79. Robert Morris over Toledo 75-70. Oklahoma over Oklahoma State 85-76. Cal State Northridge over Delaware 88-66. Number 6 Purdue over Marquette 79-59. Number 14 North Carolina over USC Upstate 80-62. St. Thomas over NC Asheville 80-59. Western Illinois over North Dakota 69-66. North Dakota State over Drake 99-94. Georgia State over Jacksonville State 77-73. Utah Valley over Santa Barbara 68-53. Northwestern over Jackson State 93-53. Dartmouth over BU 77-64. Sacramento over NJIT 65-49. Northern Kentucky over Belmar 89-76 or 80-76. Providence over Butler 113-110 in double overtime. Fordham over Manhattan 82-53. Quinnipiac over UMass Lowell 75-71. Davidson over Mercyhurst 80-47. Holiday Hoops giving Georgia over Cincinnati 84-65. Notre Dame over Evansville 82-58. Canisius over Maine 70-43. South Dakota over Prairie View 97-85. Georgetown over St. Peter's 76-68 in OT. Orange Bowl Classic number 18 Florida over George Washington 80-70. Number 7 Houston over New Orleans 99-57. Miami of Ohio over Eastern Kentucky 79-69. Tulsa over New Mexico State 83-70. Howard over Hampton 61-57. Ole Miss over Southern Miss 71-67. Delaware State over Longwood 81-76. La Tech over Louisiana 65-44. Rice over Arkansas State 77-76. UNC Wilmington over Valpo 73-70. Kansas State over Creighton 83-76. Clemson over Mercer 70-63. Number 11 Louisville over Memphis 99-73. Number 23 Nebraska over number 13 Illinois 83-80. Belmont over UIC 87-84. Oregon over UC Davis 104-62. Marshall over Wright State 76-74. Fullerton over Denver 105-86. Murray State over Akron 115-100 in the Jack Jones Classic. Colorado over UTSA 88-64. Hofstra over Syracuse 70-69. So that's a bad loss for Syracuse, losing a bye game. Marist over Bryant 82-74. Morgan State over Niagara 81-73. Central Con over Binghamton 84-67. LI over LaSalle 70-60. Villanova over Pitt 79-61. Southeast Louisiana over Houston Christian 74-71 OT. Holiday Hoops giving number 21 Auburn over Chattanooga 92-78. Oregon State over Montana State 67-57. Cal over Northwestern State 79-70. Cleveland Hoops Showdown Ohio over St. Bonaventure 88-83 in OT. Salt Lake Slam Utah State over Illinois State 83-78. Number 19 Kansas over NC State 77-76 in OT. San Diego over Northern Arizona 78-69. Washington over Southern Utah, 105-69. Northern Iowa over Oakland, 75-63. Richmond over Southern Illinois, 93-84 in OT. Mount St. Mary's over Loyola, Maryland, 81-73. Number 15, Vanderbilt over Central Arkansas, 83-72. South Carolina over the Citadel, 71-55. Georgia Southern over West Georgia, 91-85. Arizona State over Santa Clara, 82-79. Jack Jones Classic. Stanford over San Jose State, 86-82. Dayton over North Florida, 84-61. Kentucky over Indiana, 72-60. Number 2, Michigan over Maryland, 101-83. Seton Hall over Rutgers, 81-59. The Garden State Hardwood Classic. Grand Canyon over Coastal, 82-61. Cleveland Hoops Showdown. Ohio State over West Virginia, 89-88 in double overtime. St. Louis over San Francisco, 85-75. Compete for Cause Classic. LSU over SMU, 89-77. Number 10, BYU over UC Riverside, 153. The CM Newton Classic, number 1 Arizona over number 12 Alabama, 96-75. Pepperdine over Bakersfield, 70-62. Jack Jones Classic, Tennessee State over UNLV, 63-60. Mississippi State over Utah, 82-74. Nevada over Duquesne, 78-75. Seattle Hoops Shogun, number 8 Gonzaga over number 25 UCLA, 82-72. Jack Jones Classic, UC State over Tulane, 93-67. Hawaii over UTEP, 66-61. All right, and then Sunday, Virginia Tech over Maryland Eastern, 82-53. Temple over St. Francis, 95-67. Number 4 Iowa State over Eastern Illinois, 78-53. Minnesota over Texas Southern, 89-53. East Carolina over Buffalo, 73-70. Missouri over Bethune, 82-60. Vermont over Merrimack, 66-59. App State over High Point, 86-78 in OT. Fairfield over Monmouth, 73-65. Campbell over Ball State, 69-64. Indiana State over Milwaukee, 70-68. Radford over Coppin State, 107-77. Troy over UAB, 86-85. Iowa over Western Michigan, 91-51. New Mexico over Florida Gulf Coast, 79-59. Charleston over Charlotte, 74-67. Portland over Kent State, 88-78. Wake over Queens, 111-73. Purdue, Fort Wayne over Detroit Mercy, 81-77. Chicago State over Loyola Chicago, 84-75. North Texas over South Alabama, 58-57. Boise State over St. Mary's, 68-67. Texas A&M over Jacksonville, 112-75. And USC over Wazoo, 68-61. All right. 7 games we have to touch on tonight. 7 o'clock, Wofford and Gardner-Webb. I have Wofford 4 1/4. And it is 11.5 and 155.5. I'm taking Gardner-Webb in the points. Niagara VCU. My line's VCU 22.5, and it's 31.5, 141.5. I'm taking the points there as well. East Texas A&M, Southeast Louisiana. I have Southeast Louisiana 10 1/4. And it's 4.5, 137. If I'll lay it with Southeast Louisiana. Next up, 8 o'clock, Wyoming, South Dakota State. I have Wyoming 1.5, and it is 5.5, 149. I'll take South Dakota State in the points. North Alabama, Alabama A&M. I have Bama A&M as a 7-point underdog. And North Alabama's giving 3.5, total 3.5. I'll lay with North Alabama on the road. McNeese, Houston Christian. So you have a Southland game. McNeese 6 1/4, and it's 14.5 and 137. So I take Houston Christian, the cover. And last but not least, Incarnate Word TCU. I have TCU 11 3/4, 17.5, 142.5. I'll take Incarnate Word to cover. Okay, now move on to soccer. We'll go over everything from the weekend, and we'll look ahead to everything today. So Friday, La Liga, Girona over Real Sociedad 2-1. In La Liga, Bundesliga, Union Berlin over RP Leipzig 3-1. Serie A, Lecce over Pisa 1-0. French League 1, Angers over Nantes 4-1. ELC, West Brom over Sheffield United 2-0. Premier League, PSG, Montpellier 2-2 draw. Saturday, EPL, Chelsea over Everton 2-0. Liverpool over Brighton Hove 2-0. Fulham over Burnley 3-2. And Arsenal over Wolverhampton 2-1. La Liga, Atletico Madrid over Valencia 2-1. Mallorca over Elche 3-1. Barcelona over Osasuna 2-0. Espanyol over Getafe 1-0. Bundesliga, VfL Wolfsburg over Brescia 3-1. Frankfurt over Augsburg 1-0. St. Pauli over FC Heidenheim 2-1. TSG Hoffenheim over Hamburg 4-1, and Leverkusen over FC Cologne 2-0. Serie A Torino over Cremonese 1-0. Lazio over Parma 1-0, and Atalanta over Cagliari 2-1. French League 1, Rennes over Brest 3-1, PSG over Metz 3-2, and Toulouse over Paris FC 3-0. Dutch Eredivisie, Telstar NEC Nijmegen 2-2 draw, FC Groningen over FC Volendam 3-0, PSV Heidenhoven over Heracles 4-3, PC Zwolle over Fortuna 1-0, ELC Norwich City over Southampton 2-1, Preston over Oxford United 2-1, Stoke City over Swansea City 2-1, Birmingham Charlton 1-1 draw, Coventry City over Bristol City 1-0, Leicester City over Ipswich 3-1, Borough over Queen's Park 3-1, Hull City over Millwall 3-1, Portsmouth over Blackburn 2-1, Wrexham Watford 2-2 draw. Women's Super League, Arsenal over Everton 3-1, Women's FA Cup, Nottingham over Wolverhampton 2-1. Premiership, Dundee Motherwell 0-0 draw, Livingston Dundee 2-2 draw, Hearts over Falkirk 2-0. And then Sunday, EPL, Crystal Palace loses to Man City 3-0. Nottingham over Tottenham 3-0. Sunderland over Newcastle 1-0. Aston Villa over West Ham 3-2. Brentford Leeds 1-1 draw. La Liga, Sevilla over Real Oviedo 4-0. Celta Vigo over Athletic Club 2-0. And Real Madrid over Alaves 2-1. Levante Villarreal postponed. Bundesliga, SC Freiburg Brescia 1-1 draw. Bayern Munich Mainz 2-2 draw. VfB Stuttgart over Bremen 4-0. Liga MX. Toluca over Tigres 2-1. They were tied on aggregate. They had to go to penalties, and Toluca won 9-8 on penalties. So congrats to Toluca. Serie A, AC Milan Sassuolo 2-2 draw. Verona over Fiorentina 2-1. Udinese over Napoli 1-0. Inter over Genoa 2-1. Juventus over Bologna 1-0. French League 1, Lyon over Le Havre AC 1-0. Lille over Ajax 4-3. Lens over Nice 2-0. Strasbourg Lorient 1-1 draw. Marseille over AS Monaco 1-0. Dutch Eredivisie, Heerenveen over Sparta 3-0. Ajax over Feyenoord 2-0. FC 20 over Go Ahead Eagles 2-0. NAC Breda FC Utrecht 1-1 draw. AZ Alkmaar Excelsior postponed. Women's Super League, Chelsea over Brighton Hove 3-0. Leicester City over London City 1-0. Man City over Aston Villa 6-1. West Ham Liverpool 2-2 draw. Man United Tottenham 3-3 draw. Scottish Premiership, Aberdeen over Kilmarnock 2-1. In the Scottish League Cup, St. Mirren over Celtic 3-1. Alright, today, 3 o'clock EPL, Man United and AFC Bournemouth. Trying to find the game. Man United minus 130, Bournemouth plus 310, draw plus 320. Over 3.5 goals plus 126. La Liga. Valenciano Real Betis. Valenciano plus 180, Betis plus 155, draw plus 230, and going the draw plus 230. Serie A 245, AS Roma and Como. Roma plus 135, Como 260, draw 2-1, and go Roma plus 125. ELC, Sheffield Wednesday, Derby County. Derby plus 105, Sheffield Wednesday plus 270, draw plus 220, going with Derby plus 105 on the road. And then Premiership 245, Rangers Hibernian. Rangers minus 3, Hibernian plus 320, draw plus 270. For this one, we'll go under 2.5 goals at plus 110. In case we don't get to them tomorrow, I'm just going to touch on soccer of note. Spanish Copa del Rey tomorrow, 1 o'clock. Deportivo La Coruna and Mallorca. Eibar and Elche. 3 o'clock, CD Guadalajara in Barcelona. Eldense Real Sociedad and Sporting Girona in Valencia. 2 friendlies at 10 a.m. Zambia, Congo DR, 1 o'clock, Egypt, Nigeria. The Carabao Cup tomorrow, 3 o'clock, is Cardiff City, Chelsea. In the Dutch KNVB Becker, 12:45, Heracles and Hoogveen at 12:45. At 2, AFC NAC Nijmegen, FC Den Bosch and VV Katwijk, HSV Hogan Telstar, and 3 o'clock is PSV Eindhoven and GVVV Veenendaal. And then Copa Bolivia starts tomorrow too, but we don't go that deep into soccer. Okay, on this day, we're gonna do all through the weekend up until today if today's posted. So this is brought to you by All Sports News as they share on their Instagram every day. So on this day, December 13th, this was Saturday, 2022, this is a sad one. Mike Leach passes away. That was very sad when it happened. Head coach of Mississippi State. He was a good coach. I remember talking about when he passed away on the show. 2020, Cleveland Indians to change their name to the Guardians. And to this day, there's still some people in baseball media that still say Indians. 2012, the Angels signed Josh Hamilton. I remember when that was a big deal and he was a free agent. He was the big free agent that winter. 2014, Marcus Mariota wins the Heisman Trophy. He was really good for Oregon that year. I think I picked him to win the Heisman before that season, too. 2024, Cubs acquire Kyle Tucker. Boy, that's a tongue twister. But yeah, now he's a free agent, and they're probably not going to re-sign him. 2022, Argentina advances to the World Cup final. That was a great run for Argentina that year. Also in 2022, Kyler Murray tears his ACL. So 2022 was a busy one. 2020, Auburn fires Gus Malzahn. Also in 2022, Alex Ovechkin scores his 800th goal. 2017, Cardinals acquire Marcell Ozuna. That was when the Marlins blew up that team. Ozuna went to the Cards. Stanton went to the Yankees, and Yelich went to the Brewers. 2020, Eagles win. Jalen Hurts his first NFL start. 2023, Giannis Antetokounmpo scored 64 points. And then yesterday, December 14th. All right. 2019, Joe Burrow won the Heisman. 2013, Jameis Winston won the Heisman. 2024, Travis Hunter won the Heisman. So a bunch of Heismans were on this day. 2013, Mac Brown steps down as Texas's head coach. 2021, Stephen Curry breaks all-time three-point record. 2022, France advances to the World Cup final. They played Argentina. 2020, Vanderbilt hires Clark Lee. Who is the current head coach of Vanderbilt and really did a great job with that team this year. 2025 Dodgers, or 2023, Dodgers acquired Tyler Glasnow, who's still on their team, and they're looking to trade him. I don't think they should. 2015, Giants signed Johnny Cueto. I remember when they picked him up, and he got traded to the Royals from the Reds, and then helped them win, and then San Fran signed him. 2014, Kobe Bryant moved to third on all-time scoring list. 2022, Mississippi State hires Zach Arnett. Obviously, Zach Arnett had to replace the late Mike Leach. And now he's back there as a defensive coordinator. He coached him in 23 and then they got rid of him, which was sad. And in 2014, Ryan Fitzpatrick broke his leg. And this is one they didn't post. In 2012, on this day, the Yankees re-signed Ichiro Suzuki. It's on the on this day in history description thing, but it's not on the list. So, yeah. And then today, on this day from December 15th, 2021, Jaguars fire Urban Meyer. That was a shit show. And obviously handed it back at Fox. This is a sad one. 2016, Craig Sager passed away. So today's the 9-year anniversary of the passing of the great Craig Sager of TNT. And I have his book. Or it was, did the Sun write the book about him? Um yeah, so Craig wrote this book with his son and Brian Curtis. And it came out right before he passed. But that was one of the saddest days in in recent NBA history. I mean, obviously Kobe, David Stern, and now we're talking about Craig Sager. But that was one of the Saturdays, and I remember LeBron played. I remember, why do I feel like it was Cleveland Golden State that night? And LeBron in the interview said something that really, really hit me home. And I feel like he was on Cleveland, and Cleveland played Golden State at Golden State the night Craig died. And he said something about God and not make God don't make mistakes or something like that. And then obviously he said that the day Craig Sager passed, but obviously he was upset about Sager, as we all were. But he obviously said that in reference to he's in a better place and all that. But that day was sad, and that's just a vivid memory I had of LeBron that night. 2021, Travis Hunter flips to Jackson State. Obviously, he played there for Dion and then went to Colorado. 2019, Diamondbacks signed Madison Bumgarner. Obviously, did not work out. 2023, Chargers fire Brandon Staley. He was just an awful coach. 2022, Yankees signed Carlos Rodon. 2020, Giannis signed Supermax extension with the Bucks. 2019, Rangers acquire Corey Kluber. 2014, Kings fire Mike Malone. Also, the Oilers fired Dallas Eakins. 2022, Charlie Baker named NCAA president. And 2019, Bills secure first 10-win season in 20 years. So that's a lot of on this day. Obviously, the Sager one being the one that, to me, that stood out the most of all of them because of how larger than life he was. All right. Gotta move on the news and notes. There's a lot of stuff that happened yesterday that need to be touched on, but I wish I opened with news and notes. Obviously, the biggest three yesterday, Patrick Mahomes tears his ACL at the end of the Chiefs' defeat against the Chargers. So obviously, this put a fork in the Chiefs this year. On top of that, they got eliminated. Not that they were going to make it anyway. It was just brutal for Mahomes and the Chiefs. It just made a bad situation worse. But we'll see how long this recovery is. It says it's usually a 9 to 10 month injury in the NFL. I don't think he's gonna be ready to start next season. To be honest with you, I think he'll be back probably. I mean, Kyler Murray wasn't back for a long time after he tore his last year, or not last year, in 22. And then he came back late. Same thing's gonna happen with Mahomes. And this has big ramifications with the Chiefs and this year and next year. Obviously, they probably don't make the playoffs anyway with Mahomes this year, considering how disappointing they were. But obviously, this, I hate to be that person, but obviously betters their chances of getting a better draft pick this year. And maybe next year's like a reset year, and then in 27, they'll be a contender again. So it's kind of like what's happening with the Celtics right now is what's going to be with the Chiefs next year. Except, obviously, Tatum, Achilles, Mahomes, ACL, it's a difference. But yeah, very disappointing and sad end to a great run for the Kansas City Chiefs, obviously. And Micah Parsons also tore his ACL, so he's out for the season. It's a non-contact injury. It's a big loss for the Packers, and obviously their defense stunk yesterday as well with him out. And I mean, Green Bay will still probably make the playoffs. That's the difference between the Green Bay and the Chiefs. The Chiefs probably were not making it anyway with Mahomes, but Green Bay, what I think this does is that this takes them out of Super Bowl contention. Like, this gives teams like the Bears and teams like that a better chance to win. So what's probably going to happen here is that Green Bay is probably going to lose in the first round, and then Parsons will be back around the same time as Mahomes, like in the fall next year. So this does have ramifications to next year for the Packers too. But obviously the Mahomes one's a bigger deal because it's a quarterback compared to an edge rusher. And then there's other stuff too. The Jets fired Steve Wilkes, their defensive coordinator, after they got 48 to the Jaguars yesterday. Phillip Rivers actually didn't look bad in that Colts game against the Seahawks. He had some words of inspiration after his return. So the stats yesterday: 18 to 27, 120 yards and a touchdown. And he threw a touchdown pass to Josh Downs. And then Bleacher Report goes, 44-year-old grandpa still got it. But watching Phil Rivers play yesterday was so fun. And then Jay Glazer reports that Rivers didn't have cleats, which is funny. And then Ketel Marte's no trade list the Yankees and the Giants among the teams mentioned. The Lakers are eyeing 3-and-D players on Keon Ellis and Herb Jones, names mentioned. No movement on a Giannis trade as teams continuing to wait for Bucks to signal that they've made Giannis available. Jalen Warren may not play tonight against the Dolphins due to an illness. Christian Watson avoids major injury after being hospitalized with the shoulder, so that's good news. We talked about Mahomes already. But Devontae Adams also got hurt. He hurt his hamstring, so we don't think he's going to play against the Rams on Thursday night. Rome Odunze did not play against the Browns after it was reported that he was going to play. Darnell Washington to play against the Steelers tonight, the Dolphins tight end. Cardinals wide receiver Andre Bastrella stretched our field against the Texans due to a neck injury. Devin Neal got ruled out with a hamstring injury for the Saints. Ravens linebacker Tadai Buchanan may have a torn ACL. He'll undergo some testing. DJ Lagway to transfer from Florida. And then Lane Kiffin retweeted him. So now there's speculation about LSU. John Cena lost his final match in WWE. He had a final salute before retiring. There was a Grinch in the crowd at MetLife Stadium yesterday as they were embracing Jackson Dart's signature look. And Jackson Dart talks about concussion checks as he feels there's sensitivity about him taking hits. Did we talk about Quinn Hughes getting dealt to the Wild? I think we did. Adalis Garcia signed with the Phillies, 1 year, $10 million. Twins signed Josh Bell, 1 year deal. I like that one. The Brendan Donovan trade market's heating up. The Giants and the Mariners have emerged as front runners. Merrill Kelly back to the Diamondbacks, 2 years, $40 million. The Dodgers are not trading Glasnow as Glasnow says he won't be moving amid Scooble rumors. Kalen DeBoer committed to Alabama amid Michigan rumors. Diego Pavia apologized to voters after calling out Heisman voters. Fernando Mendoza said that Tim Tebow reached out and it wasn't even the coolest person to reach out to him. Who's cooler than Tim Tebow? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander says the NBA's next best rivalry is brewing between them and the Spurs. And then the fans booed Triple H as they were not happy about Cena losing his last match. Paul George responds to criticism as he addresses changes he made this year after struggles last year. Trae Young detailed his injury rehab amid MCL sprain recovery, and then Kristaps Porzingis out 2 weeks to undergo further testing on an illness. What illness does he have? Like, be more specific. Alright, so there you have it for news and notes. Last but not least, my best bet of the day, brought to you by FanDuel. This is hard. I don't know where to go. I did really good with the picks yesterday. 3-2 in Fab 5. And if the Patriots didn't yuck up that lead, I would have done very well. Because I would have hit the underdog money line with them in Denver. So, I don't know if I like any of the soccer. I think I'm going to lay the 1.5 of Denver against the Rockets. It's Jokic. Like, why is Jokic only giving 1.5 at home? Like, I'm going to keep asking that question until I have an answer. So, I'm going to lay 1.5 of the Nuggets at home against the Rockets for my best bet of the day. So there you have it for the show, and I'll be back tomorrow recapping everything, look at everything tomorrow as well. Hope you guys have a great day, everyone.